Hi.
So Leo told me he will be late because he's in the middle of something. It's
Okay.
about his high school.
Okay, no problem. Sounds good.
All right, I think we can get started.
All right, great. I will share my screen so you all can see everything well, and then we will get started. Okay. Right. Hold on. One moment. Okay. Great. All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I hope everyone has been having a good week so far. Hi, Sandy. How are you?
Fine.
Good, good. So today we're going to continue talking about plot. We're going to pick up where we left off the other day and testing our knowledge a bit more about plot and our plot elements. And then we're going to learn a few more terms when it comes to storytelling and stories, and also talk about types of conflict. Okay. All right. So let's get started. All right. So as we all remember, you've all become experts about this so far, but let's just take another quick look at our plot element chart, starting with the introduction. As we know, that's the start of the story. And then as we move into the middle of the story, something happens soon after the introduction that creates the rising action, some sort of event or conflict, something happens. And then the tensions rise to the climax, the most intense or exciting part of the story. And then after the climax, the most intense or exciting part of the story, characters start to find solutions to the problems that they're facing or to the journey that they're on. And as we end the story, we come to our resolution, where characters find all solutions to their problems and their journeys end. All right, so that's a brief overview. And again, you're all experts on here with that. So let's take a look at a fairy tale. You may remember the one that we were mentioning last class. We had a bit of a sneak peek of what fairy tale we're going to take a look at. So we will read this tale together, this version of it. And then I will ask each of you to pick a random number, and we will answer questions about that tale. All right, so first, let's take a look. We'll zoom in a little bit. Can everyone see this okay?
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
Great, wonderful. All right, so I'm going to ask each of you to read a section of the story, and then we'll answer our questions. Okay, Barry, will you read this first section up here, please?
Little Red Riding Hood lived in a wood with her mother. One day, Little Red Riding Hood went to visit her granny. She had a nice cake in her basket.
Wonderful. Thank you, Barry. Great job. All right, Dylan, will you read the next section, please?
On her way, Little Red Riding Hood met a woodpecker. Said, "Where are you going?" "I'm going to see my grandmother. She lives a house behind those trees."
All right, nice job, Dylan. Thank you so much. Okay, Esther, will you read the next section, please?
The wolf ran to Granny's house and ate Granny up. He got into Granny's bed. A little later, Little Red Riding Hood reached the house. She looked at the wolf.
All right, nice job, Esther. Thank you very much. Okay, Sandy, will you read this next section, please?
"Granny, what big eyes you have! All the better to see you with," said the wolf.
All right, nice job. And let's look at our next part here. Thank you, Sandy. Ray, will you read the next part, please?
Granny, what big ears you have. All the better to hear you with, said the wolf.
Thank you, Ray. Nice job. Lynn, will you read the next part, please?
Granny, what a big nose you have. All the better to smell you with, said the wolf.
All right, nice job. And Amy, will you read the next section?
Granny, what big teeth you have. All the better to see you with, shouts the wolf.
All right, nice job. Okay. Ray, will you read this next sentence?
A woodcutter was in the wood. He heard a loud scream and ran to the house.
Nice job. Thank you. And Esther, will you read this next sentence?
The woodcutter hit the wolf over the head. The wolf opened his mouth wide and shut, and Granny jumped out.
All right, nice job. And Sandy, will you read that last sentence, please?
The wolf ran away, and Little Red Riding Hood never saw the wolf again.
Nice job. All right, raise your hand or give a thumbs up if you have heard this story before.
Everybody.
Everybody, right? So we all know this tale. We all may have heard different versions of it. There's lots of versions out there, but one that we all know we've heard of, right? All right, great. So that's a little recap in case you haven't heard the story in a while. All right, so now let's answer some questions about the story that we just read and connect them to the plot elements and things we've been learning about, okay? All right, let's see. Barry, will you choose a number, please? So you can choose any number between 1 and 10.
7.
All right, number 7. Let's take a look. Ooh, is there dialogue in Little Red Riding Hood?
Yes, it is.
Yes, there is. All right, yes, there is. We
Yes,
see. Nice job. We see. Who do you see talking? You remember?
Red Riding Hood and the wolf.
Yes, nice job. They both do some talking. All right, yes, so we see the dialogue, especially one of the most famous parts of the story is when they're talking, what big ears you have, what big eyes you have. All right, nice job. Okay, let's see. Dylan, will you pick a number? And any number between 1 through 10, but not 7.
2.
2. Okay. Ooh, what is the climax in Little Red Riding Hood?
Little Red see the Riding Hood in her grandma's house.
I only heard part of what you said, Dylan. Little Red Riding Hood and what did you say?
Little Red see the Riding Hood in her house.
Is in Granny's house? Yes, yes, that's part of the climax. And then the most exciting point, and even further, she is at the house and she sees the wolf, is when the wolf is about to eat her. All right, he says, all the better to eat you with. All right, nice job. All right. Let's see. Esther, will you pick a number, please?
6.
All right, number 6. Let's take a look at what it is. Ooh, who is the villain in Little Red Riding Hood? Who's the person that we don't want to succeed in the story?
The wolf.
Right. Can you use a full sentence, please, Esther?
The wolf is the villain in Little Red Riding Hood.
Nice job. Yes, the wolf is the villain. He's the character who we are saying, oh no, I hope he doesn't succeed. All right, great. Nice job. Okay. Lynn, will you pick a number, please?
3.
3. Okay, let's take a look. Oh, who is the main character in Little Red Riding Hood?
Little Red Riding Hood and Wolf are the main character.
Nice job. Yes, they're the main characters in Little Red Riding Hood. Excellent job. Okay, Amy, would you like to answer a question?
Okay. And number 8.
Okay, great. Number 8. Ooh, find the introduction of Little Red Riding Hood.
Little Red Riding Hood lived in a wood with her mother.
Perfect. Wonderful job.
Yes.
Nice job. Yes, that's an introduction right there. She lives in the wood with her mother. We know who the story is about and we know where they are. Wonderful. Nice job. Okay, Sandy, it's your turn. Number 1, 4, 5, 9, and 10 haven't been picked yet.
Okay, I choose number 5.
Number 5. Okay, excellent. What is the setting of Little Red Riding Hood?
I think it's in the forest.
Yes, wonderful job. We're in the forest. And what is one other place that they go to?
Granny's house.
Excellent. Yes, so we have the forest where the whole story takes place in the woods. And then also in the woods is Granny's house. Nice job. Okay, Ray, will you pick a number, please? So 1, 4, 9, or 10?
1.
All right, number 1, let's take a look. Ooh, what is the resolution in Little Red Riding Hood?
Oh. The wolf was kept away by the woodcutter and the little girl never see the wolf again.
Wonderful job. Yes, the woodcutter helped. The Granny was able to jump out. So Granny survived, Granny was saved, and everyone was okay. And we didn't hear from the wolf again. Nice job. Okay, did everyone get to choose a number so far? I think so. Okay, so let's see. Esther, will you choose either 4, 9, or 10?
I choose 10.
All right, number 10, let's take a look. Ooh, what is a conflict in the story?
So who is Granny?
Say that again, Esther.
The wolf is Granny.
The wolf eats Granny. Yes, that is definitely a problem, especially for Little Red Riding Hood, right? Her grandmother. All right, nice job. Sandy, will you pick either 4 or 9, please?
I choose number 9.
Okay, number 9, let's take a look. Find the falling action of Little Red Riding Hood. What happens between the climax and our resolution?
The woodcutter heard the Little Red Riding Hood screamed.
Nice job. Yes, exactly. The woodcutter hears her scream and he comes to help out. So we're starting to see the solution, but it's not quite there yet. Nice job. All right, and let's take a look at the last one together. Find the rising action of Little Red Riding Hood. Barry, can you find the rising action of Little Red Riding Hood?
Little Red Riding Hood go to Jenny's house.
Yes, she goes to Grammy's house, and she also sees the wolf along the way, right? That's leading up to the big problem. All right, great job, everyone. Nice work. Does anyone have any questions about our story or about anything that the plot elements or other questions about the story? No? Okay. All right, so let's move forward then, okay? So going forward, hi, Leo. Welcome. All right, so let's move on and learn some more things about storytelling. Okay, so we have some new vocabulary, and we have a mystery bubble down here, which we'll get to in a moment. So in the meantime, repeat after me. Number 1, moral.
Moral.
Let's do it one more time. Moral.
Moral.
Nice job. Number 2, point of view.
Point
of
of
view.
Point of view.
Nice job. One more time. Point of view.
Point
of
of
view.
Of view.
And number 3 is perspective.
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 Nice job. One more time. Perspective.
Perspective.
Nice job. All right. So those are some new terms for us, and let's take a look a little bit more about them. Okay. Moral, or we commonly hear it in storytelling. People say the moral of the story. All right, so let's all try that together. The moral of the story.
The moral of the
The
story.
story.
Great. So the moral of the story is the lesson a story teaches. It's something that the reader or listener or viewer can take away from the story and understand something about everyday life. Moral of a story. It teaches about right versus wrong and what is expected of us as people. All right. So this is very common in things like fairy tales, just like Little Red Riding Hood or other stories. They're not always in every single story, but you can often find a moral in stories like fairy tales and other stories as well. All right, so let's kind of do some detective work and find some morals. So what is the moral of Snack Attack? Our video from the other day that we've watched a few times. A brief recap. We follow this old woman who we see right here. She's at a train station and she buys some cookies from a vending machine. And she had a hard time getting those cookies, but she finally gets them and is excited to eat them when she sits down on this bench and this man starts to eat her cookies from her. And she's getting very, very frustrated and yells at him. And he does not seem to understand or maybe care that these are her cookies. And she's getting very upset, right? And then as the story goes, we have our rising action, they start to eat the cookies. She's getting more and more frustrated until the last cookie he breaks in half and offers her part of it. Her train comes. She's very upset. She breaks the cookie in her hand, gets on the train, where she then sees her cookies that she bought were in her purse and they were his cookies the whole time, right? And then she kind of realizes, oh my goodness, we were eating his cookies and she was yelling at him. All right, so that's a bit of a recap about our snack attack. So what is the moral of snack attack? What do we learn from this story? Ray, what is the moral of snack attack, do you think?
Could you repeat your question?
Yes. What is the moral of snack attack? What lesson do we learn while we watch it?
Don't consider all the mistakes are all done by other people.
Yeah, so don't consider mistakes. So maybe don't think that he made that mistake. Maybe don't so quick to think or assume that he made a mistake, right? Great. Awesome. And let's see. Dylan, what do you think is the moral of snack attack? What lesson did you learn from it?
I don't know.
That's okay. Esther, can you help out Dylan?
I have no idea.
That's okay. So similar to what Ray said, so maybe a moral one that I thought of after reading this is, oh, we can't be so quick to assume or think that other people might be doing these things on purpose or to make us upset. So we think for a large part of the story that this old woman, that this man is doing things on purpose to make this lady upset. And we kind of get mad with her. Why would he steal her cookies? That's not a very kind thing to do. And then we learn, oh, he's actually was being kind in sharing with them with her because she actually took what his things were. So one thing that we might learn, a lesson is don't be so quick to judge someone or think they are doing something when they are not. So you kind of can learn more about it, or maybe don't be so quick to be angry with someone, maybe talk to them. Some morals that we might learn from this. All right, so that's our first example. But let's also think of Little Red Riding Hood. What is the moral of Little Red Riding Hood? What do we learn? Sandy, what do you think?
Don't tell a stranger the way to your home.
Yes, exactly. So Little Red Riding Hood many years ago was used as a caution tale. It sort of wanted to make people aware, be careful who you tell personal things to, where you're going or what you're doing, because it could be a dangerous situation. So it's sort of talking about being careful around strangers. And so that is the moral of be careful who you're telling your personal information to. Excellent job. All right, nice job. All right, so does anyone have any questions about morals of stories? No? All right, well, if you have questions, again, always feel free to ask. All right, let's take a look at our next term, point of view. So when we are reading a story, this is when point of view becomes important. So a point of view is the stance or position from which the action and events of stories are told. So, for example, two common ways of telling stories is, we can take a look at our chart here. So there's first person. So in first person, I am telling the story. The character is in the story. So commonly you might see a story written like, I went to the store, I picked up some grapes, I ate them on my lunch. So that is an example of first person. We are hearing it from the main characters. They're telling us the story. All right, so that's our first person point of view, where we're hearing the story from. The next is second person. Second person is not as common as first person, but it does exist and the story is told to you. So again, it's not very common. So this might look more like you went to the store, you bought some grapes, you ate them on lunch. So a bit different. So it's not from the main character. The person who's telling the story is saying it's about you. Okay. And then we have third person, which there's two different kinds, which we'll talk about in a second. But the third person uses he or she or they. The narrator is outside the story. They're not in the story. So that story look like he went to the store, he bought some grapes, he ate them at lunch. Or she went to the store, she bought some grapes, she ate them at her lunch. All right. So that is brief examples there, but let's dive in more about what those look like in some examples. Let's start with some first person. Okay, Amy, can you read this example for first person, please?
My name is Joe and I live in New York City. I love living here.
Great. So we can see that this is first person because they're saying I, me. They're talking about themselves. All right. So we know this is first person. Great. All right. Let's take a look at the second person. Lynn, will you read this, please?
You go to the store and buy a toothbrush. You need a new one anyway.
Nice job. So we are hearing you. They are telling us you. So we can understand that second person because of those, because they are saying you. All right, great, perfect. And now let's dive into third person. So again, there's kind of two different ones, which we don't have to think too much about, but we can kind of take a look and understand. So this omniscient means the person who's telling it, the person who is seeing he or she, they know everything that's happening in the story. They know all the things that are going to happen, and they know all about the different characters. So they're kind of like they oversee all. Okay. Limited is they only know what's going inside the heart and mind of one person, and their perspective is limited. Their understanding of the whole story is really only centered around those characters. And this picture is pretty helpful, I think. So if we look at right here, the writer of our story, they kind of see everything. You know, you can see their gaze. They can see, this woman, the trees, the man. They're kind of, okay, we're looking at the whole story, everything that might be happening. Almost like a big being. They know all. Limited, as you can see by this picture, it's only this one person. They might be saying he or she, but it's only through the eyes of this one character in the story. So it's the same picture, but two different stories that are being told, two different perspectives. All right. So let's take a look at these two examples with our picture. Okay. Let's see. Dylan, can you read this first one, please? Starting with the park was beautiful.
The park was beautiful, but not everyone liked it. The smell of the fresh He prefers the smell of the inside of his home.
Thank you, Dylan. Nice job. So here we hear a few different things. We hear the park is beautiful. We hear what the woman likes in the story and the man, and a bit about their likes and dislikes in what this story right here that we see. All right. So let's take a look at the limited, our second section here. Sandy, will you read this, please?
He thought the park smelled too much like the ocean. He did not like the smell. He would or prefers to meet her at his home.
Great. So we hear, again, same thing. We hear about the park. We know about these two characters, a man and a woman, but we only hear about this one character through his eyes, what he likes. We don't hear what the woman likes. So it's a bit more limited. We don't hear as much as we did from the first example. All right. Nice job, everyone. Okay. Does anyone have questions about point of view? Let me ask you all this. So when you are reading a story, a book, or any type of story, think for a moment, which do you prefer? Do you prefer first person, second person, or third person? What do you like to hear stories? When someone's saying I, when someone's saying you, or he or she. All right, so think about that. Okay, raise your hand if you like reading stories in the first person point of view best.
Okay, Barry, Esther. Barry and Esther.
Wonderful. Great. Okay, how about second person? Do any of you like reading stories in the second person best?
No one.
No? All right. And how about third person? Does anyone like hearing stories in third person best?
Okay, the others.
All right, great. So a lot more preference for third person, some like first person. Wonderful. Great. It's interesting to hear. All right, nice job. Oops. All right, let's take a look here. All right. Okay, now let's go dive into some perspective. So a character's perspective, a perspective is a character's belief or attitude about an event, person, or place in the story. All right, so if we think about the woman at the start of the story when she first meets this man, how does she feel about the other person? What does she think about him? Let's see. Barry, what does she think about this man in the story when she first meets him?
She thinks she is a slave.
Say that one more time, Barry.
She thinks she is a slave.
A thief?
Yes.
Stealing someone's cookies?
A thief. Yes, a thief. Yes, she thinks he's a thief. Leo, what else how does she feel about him?
She might say, why are you taking my cookies and don't tell me you want to eat it?
Yeah, she's saying like, what are you doing? You know, she doesn't feel very positively about this man. She has a lot of her attitude isn't a very good one or positive one. She's a lot of anger, as we see when she gets up and yells at him. She, even before she sits down and before he eats the cookies, she kind of goes like this. Before anything even happens with the cookies, that's what she does. She sees him, that's before she even sits down. So she clearly doesn't have a very positive attitude about this man. Okay, and it gets worse and worse, or more negative, as things happen with the cookies. Okay. All right, so that's our start. And the second part of perspective is that it can change during the story. So a character has an attitude or a belief that about something in the story, either another person, a place, or event. And then that might change throughout the story. Their perspective might change. So let's think about this. So we have our woman, we have our man here. She is she's angry, she's yelling at him, she thinks he's a thief, all these things. And then what happens by the end of the story? How does her perspective change? Ray, how does her perspective change about this man throughout the story?
You say the woman's perspective change.
Yeah, so how does her belief or attitude, her perspective change about this guy during the story?
Oh, when when she wanted to put her ticket into her bag, she found her cookie was uh uh oh was in her bag.
Right. And at that point, did she still think he was a thief, or was she still angry with him?
No.
No. So what did she think now about him when she realized the cookies were in her bag?
The man, the young man is the man is really gentle.
Yes. Okay, great. Yeah, so she sort of realizes her perspective, her feelings, and her attitude about this man goes from he's a thief, he steals things, she makes a lot of negative judgments about him. And then after everything happens, just as you said, Ray, she realizes, he actually might be a really gentle person. He was harmless. He did not mean any harm to me. And maybe she realized, oh, he wasn't so bad after all. All right. So her perspective changed, her attitude and belief about who this man was, and his actions changed from the start of the story to the end. All right. Nice job. All right. Does anyone have any questions about perspective? Perspective or point of view or moral? Those are our three new vocabulary terms that we'll focus on. All right. So let's go back into our screen here and let's take a look at our mystery topic, which we kind of hinted at earlier, which is conflict. So as we all know, in all plots and in many stories, we have conflict. But what we haven't talked about yet, how there are different types of conflict throughout all of storytelling. And we all know different stories and the types of conflict. And maybe some are in some genres, remember our word genres, and some might not be in others. But in every story, there's a conflict, but there are different types of conflict that we might see depending on the story. So let's take a look at more of those now. Okay, so we have man or person versus, okay, so the person versus, and let's take a look at our conflict. All right, so number one, let's repeat after me. Man versus man.
Man versus man.
All right, so this is our first type of conflict that we might see in stories. And let's take a look. Amy, can you read this sentence right here?
The main character fights against another person.
Great, wonderful. So the main character fights against another person, maybe, or they have a conflict with another person. They have a problem, and that is their goal throughout the story, is to solve that problem. The example they give here is the musical Hamilton, and even Snack Attack is a good example. Man versus man, it's the woman versus this man that she meets at the train station. She has a problem. So that's a good example we have. Okay. Nice job. Thank you, Amy. Let's take a look at our next one. Man versus nature. Let's all say that together. Man versus nature.
Man versus
nature.
All right. Lynn, will you read this second sentence here, please?
The natural world turns against the protagonist.
Yes, the natural world turns against the protagonist, or protagonist meaning the main character or characters. So the example they give here is Jurassic Park. Raise your hand if you know Jurassic Park.
侏罗纪公园，恐龙那一片。Okay, almost everyone. And
Yeah.
they probably know its Chinese title instead of the English one.
Sure, absolutely. So if you're familiar, and even if you're not, this story tells about a group of people who end up having to solve a lot of conflicts when a park full of dinosaurs causes a lot of problems. So they kind of have to work out how to solve these conflicts about all these dinosaurs. And there are other examples. So sometimes, so that's an example with animals. There are other stories that you might hear where maybe there is a natural disaster that happens to the characters. Then they might have to figure out how to solve their problem. Okay. Let's look at the next one. Man versus self. Let's try that together. Man versus self.
Man versus self.
All right, very good. And Barry, can you read the sentence here, please?
Protagonist face ignore fear, flaw, and emotion.
Nice job. So in the stories where it's the man versus himself, they are mainly struggling with their own feelings or problems about themselves, flaws, and emotions. So the example here given is Hamlet by William Shakespeare, of course. So by other stories, we might see the main character and they're really struggling about how to kind of conquer their own self, conquer their fears, conquer their flaws throughout the story. All right, nice job. Okay, a few more. Okay, repeat after me. Man versus society.
Man versus society.
Nice job. Okay, Esther, will you read this here?
A character battles against the norm of an observer or unjust society.
Yes, oppressive or unjust society. So, man versus society. So these are stories like the Hunger Games, if you know, where the character might be living in a world that is not how they want it to be. Maybe they are, the Hunger Games, for example, follows the character, and she lives in a world where all these terrible things happen, and it is not the character's Katniss's perspective, it's not an okay society. It is not how the world should be. So, and they are trying to do things to change how that world is. So it is them against the society. It's them against everyone else, it feels like. All right. Great. All right. Next one. Man versus machine. Try that.
Man vs. machine.
Machine.
All right. Nice job. And Leo, can you read this example, please?
The intelligence and strength of technology change a human protagonist.
Yeah, so the intelligence and strength of technology challenge the human protagonist. So the main characters have conflicts against technology. So things like computers or robots or things like that. So the character is fighting those things, those technologies. Okay. All right, next one, repeat after me. Man versus deity.
Man vs.
Man
deity.
deity.
And Ray, can you read this example, please?
The protagonist fights against the punishment of the gods or predetermined fate.
Yeah, so we might see this a lot in Greek tragedies or other stories as well. So the main characters fights against gods or someone who kind of maybe controls the universe or controls fate, and they have a conflict with them. Okay, and last one, repeat after me. Man versus supernatural.
Man vs.
Man versus
supernatural.
supernatural.
Great. And Sandy, will you read this example, please?
And unsuspecting characters struggles against underworldly forces.
Yes. All right. Great job. So an unsuspecting character struggles against worldly forces. So that means our main character, who may not know what is going to come, struggles against things like ghosts or monsters, things like that. Supernatural, it means things that aren't in this world. Yes, so ghosts, monsters, things like that. We see a lot in horror movies or maybe some fantasy stories as well, the supernatural. All right, so nice job, everyone. So we saw a lot of types of conflict, and we'll go over these again. But we can always see the different types of conflict in stories, and you might recognize or have a favorite type of conflict you like to read about. Some people really enjoy stories where it's man versus machine, this technology, more scientific maybe. That might be very interesting. Or man versus self might be a little bit more dramatic or intriguing, insightful. Some people like that. So some of these kind of go with certain genres. Some are going to go with many genres. But either way, there are many types of stories and conflicts that we can hear. And we will talk more about this in our next session as well. Before we go, does anyone have any questions? I'll bring back my screen. No questions? All right. Well, thank you all. It was so lovely to see you all. And I look forward to our next class where, again, we will be continuing talking about conflict and types of conflict in storytelling.
Okay, thank you for this great lesson. And students, unmute your microphone. And let's say thank you, Teacher Bridget.
Thank you,
Thank
you,
you,
teacher
Teacher
Bridget.
Bridget.
We'll
Thank
see you
you.
next week.
Yes, I'll see you all next week. Thank you all. Have a good day. All right,
Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.